established. Great. Now, what's the next issue? Now, I want us to just establish how CHRAJ concluded in terms of the investigations into all these issues that the petitioner sent to them. Let's find out.
I must say that CHRAJ did a rigorous job on this, because when you look at the number of documents they've had to look at and the institutions that they had to consult to get through to this matter, perhaps is the reason why this matter had to span all the way from 2019 to 2023. The report was released on the 9th of March 2023. That's just last
9th
month.
March 2023.
Yes.
I see. So this is fresh off the shelves of CHRAJ.
Yes.
Great. Interesting stuff. I wonder how you got that report, by the way. But anyway, but these are the summaries of the findings, right? In there. Tell us a bit more into this one.
So yes, with the findings, basically it came to light that Symphony Limited was not holding on to 5 concessions, as was alleged by the petitioner, and that only 2 concessions were held by the company as of the time that the complaint was made. It also came to light that the respondent did not engage in any act of corruption or abuse of power by having his company to hold on to the concessions as alleged, and that the failure by Symphony to pay the state annual mineral rights. They will also make some findings with respect to this one later.
So it's interesting. So Dennis, it means that CHRAJ established that Prof. Frimpong-Boateng's company is not holding on to 5 concessions, but only the 2. And then also, he did not engage in any act of corruption or abuse. This is CHRAJ talking, right?
Yes.
I see.
And specifically, what they said was that, so after all the analysis, they came to the conclusion that Symphony Limited was incorporated in February 1990 and commenced business in the same period. That at the date of its incorporation, the nature of business of Symphony was general merchants trading as exporters and importers of general goods, manufacturing representatives, and farming. That Symphony subsequently passed a special resolution on the 24th of March 2009 to amend its regulations to include mining. On the basis of the aforementioned, the Commission finds as fact that the granting of prospecting licenses to Symphony Limited was not contrary to its stated objective.
I see. So that is the CHRAJ report, that indeed it was not contrary to the stated objectives of Prof. Frimpong-Boateng's company to engage in mining.
On the matter of whether the respondent company is holding onto all the 5 mining concessions, the report says that there's overwhelming evidence which points to the fact that Symphony Limited is not in control of the 3 other concessions. First, in its letter to the Commission dated 23rd June 2020, the Minerals Commission indicated that though Symphony Limited applied for prospecting licenses for the impugned 3 concessions of Asere, Jepachrome, and Wedam, it failed to follow through and eventually gave up on them now Alfred know the dates, on the 20th day of November 2014. Now, when you refer to the letter that we first showed, that letter was dated.
Okay, so this is the letter you're talking about.
Yes.
This was dated on the 20th of November 2014.
So it's around the same time where the company wrote to the Commission to indicate that they were only sticking to the 2 concessions and they were giving up the 3 concessions.
Fantastic.
That reflects in this report. And that the Minerals Commission also stated in a letter which has been attached here that Symphony wrote a letter to it to discontinue its interests in the 3 mining concessions. So all of that is stated in this particular report. So the letter has been circulated, but what is contained in the CHRAJ report is the response from the Minerals Commission to acknowledge receipt of this letter and indeed to confirm that they were no longer interested in the other 3 concessions.
I see. So as to how Prof. Frimpong-Boateng's son became a shareholder in this company, it was because what? He was interested in mining.
Yes.
He was interested in mining.
Yes.
And that's how come they even went through this whole process of what? Getting the mining company or getting mining to be part of this symphony.
So according to the report, after the national service of Prof's son, who is in the person of Jojo, after his service, he expressed interest in going into the mining industry.
See, so we understand he did his national service in a mining company in this country. Let's not name the mining company.
Sure, but he expressed interest in going into mining.
He expressed interest into mining.
Yes.
Okay.
So then he wanted to get investors into that particular space.
Okay.
He wanted to set up a company, but upon the advice of his parents, they said he could just take the existing Symphony Limited, make the necessary amendments and get all the necessary documents so that he could start with that process. And that's how come his son came into the picture. It was at that time that Prof and his wife decided to transfer some of their shares in the company to him, and he became a majority shareholder and then started to run the company. I see.
So all this was done legitimately with all the
at least the reports we have and the findings that CHRAJ came out with. Nothing untoward had been done in that regard, except to say there's a part that talks about the mineral rights payment.
Okay.
Now, one of the reasons mining has not been done in that space per the report is because at the time they wanted to do the prospecting, according to what we have in this report, there were some conflicts around the area.
Okay.
And in fact, there was an exhibit, or let me say there was a document which was tendered before the commission to indeed show that there was conflict in the area and there was curfew in there for some time.
I see.
Prof makes it the case that when he wanted to go into the concession, the community people resisted.
Okay.
There were fights in there, so he could not even go there. And that is the reason he hasn't been able to pay the mineral rights fee.
All right.
Because he was literally not doing any business there.
In fact.
And at a point, he would say that for him, when he was declaring his assets, he did not deem that to be an asset because for him, it was a liability on him.
I see. So this is the summary of the key findings of the CHRAJ report, right?
Yes.
Number 6. It says there's no mining activity going on at the place where the concessions are situated.
Yes. So that was the finding of it.
Okay. So that explains why the mining rights were not paid.
That explains why he could not pay. And then that also explains why the commission says that it would not have been possible for the task force to go to a place where no mining activity was ongoing.
I see. Now, the issue of the conflict of interest, let's clear that and let's hear from the commissioner of the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. We're not going to just stick to this and Dennis and I doing the analysis. We want to hear from Joseph Whittal himself, okay? Stay with me. What's the issue of the conflict of interest, Dennis, in this report?
Okay, so on the matter of conflict of interest, I would want to get the specific part for you and just read strictly to what the committee, but they cleared him of any conflict of interest issue. But let me get that really quickly.
Fantastic. Great. And that's what you see on the screen there. While I read it, Dennis will go to the point. It said the respondent did not put himself in a conflict of interest position when the task force of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, of which he was the chairman, failed to visit the concession in which respondent has an interest simply because there was no mining activity. I think this is the issue that you mentioned earlier. The summary point 8 says the respondent did not fully declare his interest in Symphony Limited in his asset declaration form, but the failure to do so is not fatal. Okay,
so on the specific matter of conflict of interest, and this was on the back of allegations that because Prof was in charge of the Ministry of Environment and the EPA is under the Ministry of Environment, he may have used his influence to get the permits. The commission says that the commission therefore finds that to the extent that the respondent, who is Prof in this picture, was not a part of the governing board of the EPA, which granted the environmental permits to Symphony Limited, he did not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicted or was likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. More specifically, the respondent did not promote a private interest for himself in the grant of the Symphony Limited of the environmental permits. He was not even in position to do so. It will also be far-fetched to imagine that the promotion of the private interest resulted or appeared to have the potential to result in the interference of the objective exercise of the respondent duties or an improper benefit or advantage. The respondent too did not take any action that involved dealing with himself in a private capacity or which conferred a benefit on him in the grant of the permit.
Super.
So essentially, he's been cleared of the allegations of conflict of interest with respect to the grant of the environmental permit by the EPA.